1. My name is Jay. I live in Ireland, always been pretty open-minded to paranormal things, but always take with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure how much of this is relevant, and how much is my mind playing tricks, but here we go. From the age of, let's say, 7, I've had awful dreams about an old woman. She isn't the main focus of the dreams, but suddenly in a dream, things would stop, and that tingle up my spine would freeze me to the spot, and in these dreams I'd know she was there in the exact spot of the room. I would stand waiting for her to show her face, and always wake up upset afterward. Years passed, and the dreams stopped. It was almost odd. They became so often, I just grew up dealing with it. But then in my teen years, we moved to a new home, and things were fine. From the age of 15 till now, I've often suffered from sleep paralysis, which doesn't help how I perceive things. Well, after a while I had a friend over to the house, and while hanging out, we heard knocking, and being funny we followed it to my stairs. As a joke, my friend knocked in a rhythm, and for some reason it responded with the knock. I have no neighbours on my stairs side, and no one in the house. Myself and my friend often talk about this, but laugh it off as a random event. While in my house, I often hear people walking around upstairs when the house is empty. And in recent years, girlfriends and friends have commented on it while staying over. Small, childlike footsteps and running. So shoot forward to last year, and I was walking home, sober, and about myself, when I saw an old man in the distance, but didn't pay much attention as he seemed to sway. I looked at my phone and looked up again, expecting to pass the man. When I looked up, he was gone. If I could show you the road, it's a straight main road with only one entrance he could have entered, but when I reached the gate, I realized he couldn't have gotten across the yard and in the door in 5 seconds. And honestly, it hit me, and I froze, just like my childhood dreams. I had a chill up my spine as I tried to rationalize it. But no, I ran. And I mean, I fucking ran like a lunatic and rang my partner, freaking out. A few weeks passed, and I felt nothing more about the experience. I couldn't explain it, and I was happy with that. So the reason I write up now about this is as follows. I was out for a drink, and my friends began talking about all the odd experiences they had in my house over the years. And I realized they all believed it was haunted. And even my more skeptical friends didn't like the vibe my house gives. Today I found a painting of mine off the wall, behind my TV, so I just guessed it fell and hung it back up. I was on my phone, facing the picture, and within 10 minutes, maybe, the picture was launched off the wall onto the floor. I sat stunned, and then very slowly stood up, and walked down the stairs, and stood outside. 2. So I'm a dog groomer, and last year I got a new job at a new salon. The other groomers told me that the salon and store was haunted by what they think is a little girl that mainly hangs out in the salon. They think it's a young girl because the one sighting they saw was a quick run-by of a young girl all pale in a dress. At first I shrugged it off, thinking that they were just trying to fuck with the new chick. Well, I was wrong. Over the last year I've experienced Sally, that's what we call her, and we believe she is harmless, which is why I'm okay with naming her. I would not advise naming any kind of entity you don't know anything about. At first I'd hear stuff moving in the back kennels like a dog was back there, moving around, but there would be no dogs in the salon. I also see her in the corner of my eye pretty often. Not a detailed image, but enough for me to look, and there would be nothing there. The most activity I've seen her do occurred one night when I was alone closing. We have a pretty large wooden plaque with all the groomers' names and pictures on it. It's about the size of a large poster board. Anyway, this thing started shaking, and I mean shaking. She hasn't done anything that extreme in a long time. Also, a lot of times the dogs will see her and sense her. I work with 2 other groomers, and some days we are all working the same day, and we'll have dogs on our grooming tables at the same time. We know she's present when all the dogs will look at the exact same spot in the salon like dogs do when they see something interesting. You'll also know if you walk into her because you'll get a very, very, very cold chill. I've tested this by stepping away and stepping back in separate occurrences. She also enjoys knocking things over like spray bottles or moving stuff in my drawer, which I do not enjoy when I'm trying to groom a dog, and I hear some shit move in my drawer that's right behind me, but oh well. One more occurrence. One of my groomers had a miscarriage a few years back, and she was talking to me about it, and literally after she said, "We knew it was a girl, and I always wanted a girl," we heard a fucking knocking on the wall that was connected to the back room, not the side the dogs stay on. Probably one of the most creepiest things she's done. Maybe she lost her mom. Who knows? I've come to the conclusion she's harmless and possibly just a young soul that got stuck here for some reason. I've never felt threatened or in danger in her presence, and sometimes I'll talk to her, 'cause if I was a young ghost child stuck in a grooming salon, I'd probably want someone to talk to me too. If anyone knows more about helping ghosts like this that seem stuck, please message me. I feel for this soul like she's stuck and can't move on. 3. Texas summer nights are a sticky, humid event. If you are from the central portion, you know very well what I speak of. My friends and I used to take up in a dilapidated house one of our uncles and his partner were fixing up. This house alone, as it was then, 15 years ago, was one that takes part in the most unfavorable dreams, to put it gently. We go there on weekends to have some drinks and play spades or dominoes. We weren't necessarily being insolent to the laws that stand, but we were slightly underage at the time. Inside of the house had what appeared to be the original furniture from the turn of the century. Dusty sheets covered most of it, but we just had to see what was under these filthy covers. There were odd collectibles about the first story from over the years. Not sure if they were my friends' uncles or squatters that shacked up prior to the purchase and renovation. Broken teapots, old silverware jammed into the walls, making intricate patterns. What I can only imagine was a wind chime made of skeleton keys and sprockets and a phone booth. The stairs leading to the second story were terrifying, as they led to the only functioning bathroom in the house at the time. The uncles refurbished the bathroom first for comfort purposes, while the reno was taking place. The bathroom was down a long hall. For a mental visual, an entire church pew fit leading to it. I can only imagine how that got up there. The loo was the most royal blue you could imagine. Claw-footed bath, single-necked sink. The porcelain shined in the creepiest manner under the single bulb hanging. I suppose you could call it a border of sorts. In the middle of the walls, nearly 6 inches in width, and white as bone with canary yellow rubber ducks. Why they chose this theme is beyond me. Well, the upper story had 4 bedrooms. The uncles had been keen enough to buy all new mattresses for us, as they were aware we spent the weekends there. The bed frames were very original to the house's period of build. In the room I'd stayed in, had a picture hanging upon the fireplace. I can't say that it frightened me, but I can imagine an everyday perspective on how this may make others feel rather uncomfortable. The picture is of a girl no more than 6 to 9 years of age, strawberry blonde hair. She is donning a peach-colored dress, standing next to an oversized chair, ringlet curls with a ribbon tied in, green background, and frame which had, approximately, 1907 written on the back. I would stay up when everyone else had their fill and chat to this picture, wondering how she got there, who she was, if she'd lived in the house, if she was still alive, in a sort of speaking. You know, chats with an eerie, half-painted, half-actual photograph. Fast forward 6 months. I'm about to leave San Antonio and head for Charleston, South Carolina. We made one last visit to this house. I wasn't staying the weekend per usual, as I was driving out the next morning. We set up our card table in the grand formal sitting room, adjacent to the front door, instead of the servingware art kitchen. While the night wore on, I thought I should go say goodbye to my friend that had kept me company at night. So I make my way upstairs, and to my disappointment, she is not hanging on my fireplace. I came downstairs and asked my buddy what his uncle did with her. I was awkwardly concerned about my friend, and I could not tell you why. It was as though it was my child. So he calls his uncles, and they told him they had been overseas for weeks, and no one had been in the house except for us in weeks. My stomach sank. Where was she? Now, mind you, I am a short-statured female, so anything above eye level generally doesn't exist in my world. I am nearly panic-stricken, wanting so badly to say goodbye for whatever reason, when one of my friends notices her. In the grand room with vaulted ceilings in all her glory, nearly 20 feet up the chimney, hangs my friend. I was half relieved and half sick. How did she get up there, if no one has been here for weeks? Did she know I was leaving and wouldn't be seeing her, for I hadn't a reason to go to my room? I began to question everyone, wondering if they were playing a sick joke on me. Of we four, only one other had the same outlook as I on the paranormal, if you will. He knew I cared very much for this lost, trapped, lonely child. So we both figured if she knew I was leaving, she made it downstairs for me to find her and come on my life adventures. To this day I still have her. Her name is Emily. Not sure how I know this. She's very playful with the knock-knock game she's played in every residence I've lived in. When I was in a bad place, unfortunately in a physically abusive relationship, if it got too rough, she's knocked dishes off the shelves in the middle as though to yell stop. Not many of my relationships after have liked seeing this 110-year-old painting hanging in my day rooms. She enjoys being in a window most. That's when she is less active, but she just wanted to see the country, travel, I guess. I have always found comfort in saving her. If that makes me odd, then so be it, but this is the only odd thing I have had happen to me. I generally don't feel anything for inanimate objects, but this painting or picture has feelings to me, and I couldn't just leave her behind. 4. For those who don't know, Terrapin Point is a place at Niagara Falls, the top of them. I was there last night and saw some things. First off, I'll say that I was awake in the middle of the night with my father on an energy drink, but nothing else. What I saw had started when I was sitting at a small stop for the trolley. Ahead there were trees. Naturally, this late at night, there's no one there around 2 or 3 in the morning. Our asthma makes it better for me to be up at night than asleep. Or so you'd think. There were a few people here and there going to Terrapin Point for pictures, but the odd thing started when there were, definitively, none around. I looked out into the woods to make sure we were alone, because to exercise a due amount of caution, late at night alone, we don't know anyone. The worst result is obvious. That's when I see something. At first I think I'm just seeing stuff on the edge of my vision, but I'm wide awake at this point, out between the sparse trees, lit in the very back by lights as well as in the front, but not in the middle. I see something moving between them. It's quick and looks vaguely like a silhouette, but I don't see the impression of legs moving at all. Just something whisk away. It doesn't reappear from behind the tree. It happens again, twice more, with different trees but all in the same wooded area. I never see anything re-emerge from those trees. There are vague color representations of color like red, white, and grey for each occurrence. But that's all I see. Fast forward. My father and I start to leave. Admittedly, I am a little spooked at this point. The longer you stare into darkness, right? After seeing a lump on the trunk of a tree nearest us that I was sure hadn't been there before, and suspiciously looked like someone hiding behind said tree, we're ready to leave Terrapin Point. This is where it goes from odd to definitively unsettling. We're walking down the road adjacent to the parking lot, right past the Cave of the Wind's restrooms, when we hear a single scream. Just the one. This late at night, that's enough to stop me short, but what I heard next made me freeze. Aside from the sound of someone running, about 30 feet ahead of us are 2 young women, about college age, running from one side of the street to the next. Jogging here isn't odd. I saw a guy in a tie-dye t-shirt do the same. What's odd is that one screams, "Help!" I scramble to get my phone out of my bag. Later on, I find my father heard no one scream help, but he definitely heard the scream. My hands are shaking. I turn on the phone and watch as the girls run down the sidewalk into a dark road, which I instantly wonder, why? I'm positive I heard one scream and then say help, but to make matters more muddled, neither one acknowledged that we were there. They didn't address us or look our way, just ran off the road into the darkness. And my father and I are standing right in the road by the brightly lit parking lot. There's a broken machine to the side that sounds like it's making a call that no one's answering. We're obvious and out in the open, but they just ran away and we don't see them again. We didn't see anyone with the girls, in case you were wondering. They were alone, seemed to run from one side of the street to the other. The significance of that is the one side of the street has a creepy-looking wooden shack just hidden behind some trees. The side they ran to had a winding road parallel to a construction site that had absolutely zero lights. Needless to say, the walk back to the falls had me looking in every direction. I was terrified. My father thinks that it was a setup, given who screams for help and doesn't address the people closest to them. He thinks they wanted us to follow them into the woods, which is obviously a big, fat nope. Has anyone else experienced weird things at Niagara Falls? 5. There's a hereditary haunting in my family. It goes back at least 4 generations before me. and it started when a property that my great-great-great-grandfather was renting to a married couple turned into a murder scene when the husband murdered his wife for having an affair. That was in the mid-1800s. She never left the property, which stayed in our family until about the time my dad was born, and then was sold. Except she didn't go with it. Following her death, for whatever reason, children in my family began to talk about seeing her, and her playing with them and protecting them from danger. As the generation progresses, she seems to pick one and haunt the hell out of them until the next generation starts. Their description has always been the same. Long blonde hair, green eyes, white nightgown, snow-pale skin. All of these children have seen her until the age of 8 or so, and then it stopped. My older sister and brother were the last to see her, although I heard her voice as a child, calling my name and telling me to come find her, which my father always forbade me from doing. Not that I wanted to anyway. She's mostly a harmless spirit, save for one instance when she bit, yes, bit, adult-sized teeth marks when no adult had been in the room, my older sister for punching my brother in the face. And another time, when my sister was being too loud, when I was a newborn and was dragged under a bed. For our generation, the spirit takes a keen interest and devotion to my older brother, for some reason. To the point of me being visited, not visibly but audibly, being told, "Call," in a female voice, on the night that my brother's best friend was murdered because he learned how to block her out years ago. The thing is, although she doesn't seem to be too much of a threat, she can physically harm us, as shown by my sister's experiences, and she is, for whatever reason, obsessed with the children in our family. What do you recommend I do? Because for 5 generations we've had to have the "there's a ghost haunting our family" talk with our children, and I don't want to have it with mine. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, episode 64. Apologise for any loud bangs you might have heard in the background or might be hearing now. It is currently October the 28th right now here in the UK, and in the weeks leading up to and right until after New Year this will actually go on, people tend to like to buy fireworks and set them off. Fair enough if that's what you enjoy, but for the love of God, be respectful to the neighbourhood you're in. Oh, there they go. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Look at the pretty colours, well done. Okay, I lost track, I was busy grumbling. Well, I don't know what was wrong with me tonight, but I think I've basically just numbed my voice to the point where recording isn't too much of a chore at the moment, so that's good. I managed to get this video done, not as quickly as I usually would. I've just been, I've been recording like a story, drinking lots of Work with Ice in it, then I've been taking a break and watching Matchbox 20 videos on YouTube, or just Rob Thomas, really, in concert. So that's been fun in between the recording. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.